Brian, Joe just talked about how Headley's been swinging the bat a little bit better lately. What have you guys seen from him lately that you like, that you think he's going to be able to continue here?
Well, I mean, we think he's an upgrade. He definitely has improved offensively. I think that has a lot to do with he had an epidural injection towards the end of June, for a herniated disc in his back that he had been playing through, and once he had that the epidural, it seems like it's had a huge impact. We noticed his hit velos have really jumped, and obviously his success, at the plate has jumped, so. We've been following him for quite some time, and we've been trying to push through on something with them for, it feels like about 3 weeks. But I know that there was some mechanical stuff with his hands that, I've seen in the papers. But I personally think really, that epidural really did a trick.
Dan?
How much is the back a concern going forward, given that he's had issues with it?
It seems like, we've noticed the last number of years he's been getting 600 plate appearances. He's been playing every day this year. We went through the trainer's notes and the medical logs from the Padres, and, I think his symptoms were minimal, to some degree. Until he dove for a ball, which I think it impacted him to some after that event to lead to the epidural. Is there some risks? There's some risk, but they appear to be something that's manageable, and it's been managed really well. And one of the bag of tricks when you have an issue like that is an epidural, and usually. The results are the results, one way or the other, and we're well past 3 weeks, and he's really responded well and positively, both in performance and how he feels. So can't deny that there's risk. He's a rental for the next 2 months, but our assessment of him from afar by scouting, by performance, and then getting down deep in the medicals is it's a low risk. So we're excited to have him here, but at the same time, the information I'm sharing with you has been in the public arena, from the San Diego side. When he had the injection, it was public at the time, and so it's not like I'm revealing anything that's not something that you may already be aware of. I don't know.
Wally and Sweeney.
Cash, Solarte had a great April, and he looked like at that point could be a player that you would want around here for the future. Did it become your determination that April was an aberration and that the player he was after that was more the player he was going to be?
Well, it's hard to say. Some people can find themselves later in their career. And I think that's yet to be determined on Yangervis Solarte's in his case. He had a tremendous, March and April. When we signed him, our assessment was he would be a real quality, support player that we can turn to and compete for, an infield 5 position, and so provide some depth and be an up-down guy, and he emerged into something much more than that, something that our scouting reports didn't really project. So. There was one of a few things going to happen. We were going to then adjust our scouting assessment of him as we move forward, or, there would be a market correction at some point. There has been, a market correction to some degree, but I can't tell you that, Solarte hasn't found a new level of play here later in his career. He did a wonderful job. As you guys got a chance to know him, he was a great story. He was a great individual. He gave us everything he got. He had an amazing attitude, and so we were lucky to have him. When we were competing for him as a 6-year minor league free agent, there was a lot of competition for him, and I'm glad he picked us, and he really saved our bacon. Early this year when we had a lot of other issues going on, he stepped up, and for that we're thankful. But he was a player that had to be in this situation for me to get Chase Headley back. So I wish him the best, and I guess you'll see, and we'll all see over time, where he kind of falls in his what he really is as he declares himself. Is he an everyday player? Is he, a nice support player as we move forward? He's a good under control piece, switch hitter, and a lot of contact, and again, a lot of energy and a positive attitude. So I wish him well.
Brian, two things. Sorry, to your right. Two things on Headley. He had one big power year in his career. I know he played in a pitcher-friendly park. Do you consider him a power bat?
No, I think he's more, no, I'd say I think he can certainly deliver a long ball, and this ballpark's certainly more conducive to that than the one he's coming from. But no, I think he's a guy that can impact you obviously on the offensive side with his plate discipline as well as his batting average. I think he's a professional hitter and switch hitter, can spray it all over the place, and that's what he's been doing. So I don't think we're getting a big thumper to answer your question, but I do think we're getting an upgrade and a professional at bat, and he's going to give you a good at bat.
The other thing is his name first came up in rumors 2 winters ago when Alex had his second hip surgery. Had you inquired about him then? Have you been trying to get him since before this last couple of weeks?
2 years ago seems like a long time, and obviously, some of the experiences that you just referenced made it feel like a lot longer. So it's hard for me to remember. Oh, I'm sure I have. I'd be honest, though, it just seems like so long ago. I'm sure if I had a vacancy at third base, which clearly I had, I'm sure I inquired about him, yes. So, but he was an easier get this time than it was whenever that call was made, clearly.
Dave, to your left.
Cash, over here to your left, Cash. With this trade and the McCarthy deal, it seems like you've done, not huge blockbuster trades, but you've done trades that should be helpful for the team. Are these the kind of deals you wanted to do, Cash, with an eye towards maybe protecting some of the bigger talent that you have further down in the system, or are these just the deals that are available to you at the time that you wanted to get done?
I'll be honest, these are hard deals to pull off. I mean, my God. I've been trying to push through on this for 3 weeks, it feels like, and we've had a lot of conversation and a lot of players that we've sifted through until we found some common ground. And the McCarthy deal, I think, felt like a month and a half to 2 months to pull down. So I'm okay, and it depends on the circumstance. We've got high-end stuff, without a doubt, that players that other teams like, and those players would be available or will be available in the right circumstance. So these are the deals that I can present to you that we're able to conclude. But we're talking high end, much larger type deals, and clearly some smaller incremental upgrades. Whether it, again, I don't want to forget about doing Huff earlier in the year, and we just keep trying to find different ways to upgrade, and these are the ones I have to show for those results. But we're hoping to, that we can, get a jolt from every single addition we bring in here, and we're going to keep mixing and matching, and but we'll see. But we're open to anything, and I said before, which was kind of true. I was like, we're ready to rock and roll. That's we're ready to try to do things. Is more in a response to, I know the daily questions, if you could do something, would you do it? It's like we've been trying to do a lot of things, but they're just really hard to do. It's just, that's the one thing that I can tell you, probably on behalf of all the 29 other clubs, is it's just not easy getting through and finding common ground. And so, we're going to keep sifting through it and try to find ways to improve this club so we can get the team where it needs to be, which is qualifying for the playoffs and being one of those teams that has a shot at this thing in the next round in the tournament. But, I got more work to do.
Dave.
What is it about these deals that were so hard? Is it just that with time to spare, they're looking around to find something better before they?
I think it's just finding common ground. I mean, obviously I know what my needs are and the solutions I'm trying to solve, and other teams have their interests, and it's not easy just trying to get those things on alignment, especially when you're in competition with others. So it just takes a while, and there's money involved, there's payments involved, there's prospects involved, and there's risk involved, for medicals and stuff like that. So there's just a lot of different variables, and a lot of conversations that you're talking, from the GM's chair, you're talking down and left and right with your personnel and your scouts and your player development people, and then you're talking up through your team president and your ownership group, and that's taking place in all, the other environments too, and it involves a lot of people and a lot of opinions, and it's a slow process, and most of the time doesn't really get you anywhere.
Did the changeover in San Diego enhance this at all, kick it forward, or not? This
didn't start until after. So I hadn't had a dialogue with Josh on this. This started so AJ Hinch and I did most of the talking on it. I had some conversations with Omar Minaya. And then, I texted Mike D as well. So, I had a little conversation with Mike as well as Omar, but most of my conversation was directly with AJ Hinch.
You, Brian, you call this a rental for Headley, but obviously third base is unsettled next year. Do you look at this as an audition for him for next year, perhaps?
Next year is next year. So right now I just kind of frame it as what it is. I mean, he's got an expiring contract that runs through the end of the year. And so it's a rental in terms of, the acquisition cost. And that's how we approached it. We've taken on some money. We got some money to offset some of the remaining balance of his contract. And they've got some players that they can hold on to as they move forward and try to, support their future. So, I can't predict 2015 and what our needs will or won't be. So it's not about what this is about. We're all really focused currently on the remaining push at 2014 and trying to improve what we've got.
Clint, to your right.
Over here.
Yeah.
Brian, do you feel like you have a lot of work still to do? I mean, does this team need more major tweaks to get where you want to get? I
have more work to do. If I'm going to still continue to try to improve on what we have, and I feel like I got more work to do.
Brian and Bruce, coming from behind you.
Cash, how do you rate him defensively this year? And, given ground ball guys like McCarthy, was that important to try and upgrade?
I would say he's average, but it was the upgrade was really comparing, Chase and where we project him currently, rather than what April, May, and June was looking like, as much as how he's been responding in July and going forward compared to what we have. And it's as simple as that. We feel like we're at the very least getting an average, everyday major leaguer at that position and maybe more. We'll see. But you want to support your pitching staff, especially pitchers like a Brendan McCarthy, with real quality defense, because your infield has to be strong the day that a guy like that pitches. So you don't worry about it as much when you have a fly ball guy out there, but a fly ball guy's not conducive to Yankee Stadium either. So, but I think he's an average third baseman, and I think there's some confusion on the metrics about what he really is. I think our scouts have him as an average third baseman. So,
Bruce.
Cash, you say you have work to do, but do you think you have the components here right now to win the division?
We'll see. We're competing for it. My job is, I think all of us individually have to focus on what we can do. So the 25 guys that are in there have to focus on putting out the best performance that they can and being in a position to do so on a daily basis. That's all they can do. All I can do is try to provide our manager and coaching staff the best 25 guys to go out there and compete every day. So I'm going to focus on that aspect, let them focus on their aspect, and hopefully all of it collectively becomes good enough here in the last 2.5 months or wherever we're at, and that's the focus for me.
Mark?
Is there any timetable for Tanaka to pick up a ball?
I don't have one to report, at least. I haven't asked that.
Is there any level of concern as far as the injury with Teixeira right now?
No, I would say low level. I mean, the only concern is that we don't have him available for the short term, and that's not optimal. He gives us a different lineup, obviously, and he's a significant impact piece for us when he's out there, both offensively and defensively. So, hopefully, the short-term rest is going to benefit him, and he can come back and get back to going and doing what we're accustomed to seeing. So.
Take one or two more, Dan.
Did the that injury play a role at all in this move, in the Headley move?
No, I've had this offer sitting for a while. I've been kind of waiting for San Diego. You know, again, we've worked through a lot of different things, and but this offer, if they said yes to it, 5 days ago, would have gotten done. So but we've been sifting through. They're I think trying to see if we were willing to do certain other things, but it took a long time to just get to this part, and then and that was where we're at, and the last number of days, that's where we stayed. So.